Hello, I am Dr. Catherine Kelly. I'm a holistic health psychologist and soul healing specialist, and I want to talk about soul age. Now, this is one of my favorite topics when I'm educating people about why certain relationships can be very difficult, why certain people cope differently, how it is that we evolve beyond a certain situation. So, soul age is a really unique kind of thing. And once I start to help people understand it, it makes all the sense in the world. And I have so many people that literally say, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. That explains it all. And I use it for so many different things. So when I talk about soul age, it's literally the age of wisdom within your soul. It's the amount of wisdom. So you all know that there are old souls out there. We've heard that term over and over again. So it's basically someone who is wise beyond their years. Wise beyond what they should be for their particular age, chronological age at the time. But if there are old souls, there's also the whole spectrum down to young souls. And when I talk about soul healing, when I talk about how is it that you heal, as a psychologist, I've been doing mental health work for about 38 years, which is a little shocking when I think about it. But if I had known a little bit more about how to understand soul age at a younger age, I would have probably understood how to conceptualize why people stay stuck, why they stumble, why they can't get past certain things much easier. Had I known that, I would have probably had a little bit of a different approach. But this is really something that I want to explore for you to understand why the concept of soul age is so important in the midst of healing. So I'm going to flash my soul health model to you. You know, this is something you can find it on my website. You can actually download one on my website, but I have had this model for about 18 years. And I created this years ago because we didn't have a good roadmap to help people understand the interdynamic nature of how each one of the aspects of our human condition interacts with one another. And so I created this model because really, if you look at this model, these 10 branches of the human condition that everybody at some point kind of struggles with, it gives you the roadmap for understanding how it is to get yourself back to feeling radiant, how to get yourself back to feeling whole. But what happens if soul age is an aspect of that? Because the whole point of understanding soul age is to understand why some people stay stuck, why some people, again, are older than their years, and why are some are younger than their years. But when it comes to trying to get past something, the concept of soul age is really important to understand. Now, I started writing a book on soul age several years ago. I got sidetracked with some other work that I've been doing, and I'm making my way back to finishing this book in the near future because I think it is so important for people to understand this. And it does wonders for self-healing too. It does wonders to help a person understand, oh my gosh, this wasn't about me. So, for instance, and I'm just going to kind of flash this up here again. For someone who, if you have an old soul, let me give you this example first. If you have an old soul and a young soul, and they've both been dealing with something similar. So, for instance, they have the same kind of health problem. So, maybe it's just the common cold. Maybe it is just a really bad case of a cold, and how an old soul handles it versus how a young soul handles it is probably going to be vastly different. So, you can start to assume already that an older soul is probably not going to let that cold get in their way. They're going to keep moving forward. They're not going to feel like they have to completely kind of fall apart and go crawl under the covers and hide from the world, or they're not going to need people to take care of them. They're not going to be whiny. They're not going to be kind of thinking it's the end of the world. If you have a younger soul, they might be completely doing all those things I just mentioned. They might need to be taken care of. They might be manipulative in how they get taken care of. They might think again that it is the end of the world to have them common cold. So there tends to be more of an emotional drama. There's a more of emotional kind of upset when someone's sick, just basic kind of sickness when they're a younger soul than when they're an older soul. I'm just going to use the idea of a car accident. If an older soul gets in a car accident or a younger soul gets in a car accident, just imagine what the difference in the coping would be. What would happen for an older soul? What would happen for a younger soul? because it is probably going to be vastly different. I'm just going to throw out very common everyday sorts of things. What about getting through school? What about getting through some sort of an old soul and a young soul going through the exact same school system is going to be very different. The old soul is just going to mow through, get it done, probably not going to have a whole lot of drama. They might even be bored with the situation, might be annoyed, by the intricacies of just getting through educational system, but they weren't really going to complain about it. A young soul is going to make a fuss. A young soul is going to have a difficult time really adjusting to anything. They're going to have a much harder time just getting through everyday kinds of situations in life. If you have a situation with mental health, I'm a psychologist. I've been doing mental health work since I was 18 years old. I started working I was actually volunteering for a domestic violence council. Then I went into working for an adolescent treatment center. I started very young in the work that I do. And so what's interesting is I started very young, but it was because I'm an old soul from what I've been told, and I'll tell you why I say it that way. Very old soul, so I kind of knew what I needed to do to keep moving forward. I've always been someone that people have leaned on. I've always kind of known how to do life. I haven't really argued about doing life. I just kind of jump in and do human life. Someone who is a young soul does not either know how to do human life or they don't want to do human life. They really resist. They dig their heels in. They really don't want to have to be a grown-up. They don't want to do adulting kinds of things. And so you can have a 50-some-year-old that has a job but really is kind of not happy about it. They'd rather be out hanging out, playing pool, drinking beer, whatever it might be. But think about the whole concept of soul age and how that can affect every single person in life. And my guess is, excuse me, just by watching this video, you're already evaluating people in your life that it might be family, might be friends, it could be parents, it could be siblings, it could be children, it could be your partner, it could be coworkers. Because as you start to just generally conceptualize the idea of soul age and how people get through life, it just makes sense that the younger souls are really going to fumble a lot more. They're going to have a lot more difficulty, whereas the older souls are kind of just going to push through and get through, do what they need to do. They're kind of going to have innate skills in getting through life. They're not going to be full of drama. That's the other thing is and I'm not saying emotions. Old souls still have emotions, but they don't do drama. They don't like drama. They don't like to be around drama. They get really annoyed by people who create drama. Younger souls are oftentimes all about emotional upset. Something that's small can feel astronomical. Something that they can manipulate. They can create a lot of that emotional upset because they think everybody should be upset like them. So I'm just giving you very general information about this because it's really, it's a concept that most people don't think about unless you do some sort of soul healing. But I use this every day in my work. I use this every day because I can tell almost immediately just by looking in someone's eyes how old of a soul they are. I was actually meeting with someone on Zoom for the first time, a therapist in actually the West Coast. I live on the East Coast yesterday, and I was listening to her, and we were talking about the energies in the world and how to heal, and how to heal ourselves as healers. And I basically said to her, people like us who are older souls tend to absorb a whole lot more. We have to work harder to release the experiences of the world because we are like natural magnets. And she looks at me on the screen and she said, "You can tell that I'm an old soul just by looking at me." And I said, "Absolutely." Again, I've done this work forever, so I can tell very, very quickly if someone is a young soul or an old soul. But I helped her understand that concept of why a lot of times older souls just feel tired all the time. They're weary. They do not like drama. They don't like all this stuff that's going on in the world. But we basically also are innate healers. We're innate helpers. We want to problem solve for people. We want to take care of situations because inherently we know how. So there is a broad span of why it is that it's important for us to understand this soul age thing. From an emotional healing perspective, think about this. So people, old souls and young souls can struggle with the same thing. So let's try drug addiction. If we talk about drug addiction, someone who is a young soul, it's going to take them much longer, if ever, to figure out that they are causing harm to themselves or other people than an old soul who is already inherently aware of this, but maybe for biological reasons, their biochemistry just got triggered because of their genetics. And so it's not unusual at all for an old soul to either never become addicted because they monitor their behavior more, or if for some reason they're biologically addicted, they can usually get out of it much quicker than a young soul. Because the young soul is going to be emotional. They're going to want instant gratification. They're going to basically not think through the consequences. They're not going to see how they affect other people. So that's just one example. Another example could be something like depression. It's like an old soul who is depressed is going to basically work on things differently than a young soul. Old souls are probably much more likely to read the books that they need to do to get out of depression or anxiety. They also are more likely to go to therapy or to find holistic healers that can help them. Whereas a young soul may not ever want to go to a therapist, may not ever want to go to a treatment center. And if they do, they may not do the work. They may be sitting there and just not doing the work. So all kinds of different reasons why it's important to understand soul age. And this is one of the reasons why I am so invested in teaching other health providers, other therapists, other psychologists, other coaches, anybody else who is really working with people. This is why I'm so invested in helping people understand this dynamic because it explains a lot, not everything, but explains a lot of why people get stuck or why people don't move forward. So, I don't have the book written yet. I started it years ago. I'm going to go back and finish it. But it is one of those things that if you are interested in learning more, you can contact me. You can get on my newsletter list. You can basically, if you are a practitioner or coach and you want to learn more, you can join some of my classes or my courses or my certifications. But this is one of those things where I cannot tell you how valuable it is to understand the concept of soul age in the context of healing and evolving. Now, I will say that there are a few other authors who have addressed soul age, but they haven't done it very far in depth. And being a psychologist and understanding human development, one of the things that I've done is I have created what I call a soul age spectrum. And there's 10 different levels of soul development that I've created as part of this to help people understand where they might fit or where the people in their lives might fit to help you understand why there are struggles. And this soul age spectrum, I have the milestones that they need to reach in order to kind of graduate to the next level, the characteristics that they're likely to have, the virtues that they're usually keeping, all of this kind of stuff. I have this laid out, and this is what I'm teaching partially in the level 2 certification of my Soul Health Scholars program. But again, the book is coming. I just want to help you understand that there is a little bit of information out there, but to me, it doesn't go far enough in depth for you to make it useful for you. My mission is to bring ancient wisdom to the modern soul so I can make it useful to you, practical to you, so that you can use it and understand it in your own soul's evolution. So just something to bite on, think about, chew up, kind of just kind of internalize a little bit and see how this might apply for you. And again, get on my newsletter list if you're interested in when this book comes out. It's going to be a little while, but it's coming. And also, if you are a practitioner, you can also get on that list and go to the Soul Health Scholars tab on my website. And that is www.drkatherine.T.Kelly.com. And all of the information you need is on that website. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I would love to hear your questions and your comments. Bye-bye.